What happens if a single, seemingly thwarted plot changes absolutely everything we thought we knew about a character? What if this exact moment becomes the dark, irreversible beginning of something much bigger and far more devastating? Guys, I really do not think we are paying enough attention to what comes next. We are so focused on the immediate threat that we are completely missing the massive psychological avalanche waiting to crush the canvas. We are looking at a character who has spent her entire life running from her dark lineage, desperately trying to prove she is the absolute opposite of her twin sister, only to potentially step right into those exact same bloody shoes. This is not just about a failed poisoning. This is about the complete and total shattering of a pristine facade and the terrifying birth of a completely new dynamic. Let us take a very quick look at the current board just so we know exactly where all our pieces are standing before the board gets flipped entirely. Willow Kane is currently hanging on by the absolute thinnest of threads. Her control over the Drew Kane situation is slipping through her fingers by the second. Her anxiety is at an all-time high, and her carefully constructed life is fracturing. Enter Jacinda, a wildcard operative who attempts to poison Willow. But Willow is not the naive girl she once was. She discovers the plot before the poison can even touch her lips. That is our starting line. The failed poisoning is merely the spark. The real story is the explosion that follows when Willow decides she is no longer going to be the victim waiting for the next strike. This could lead to a future where Willow completely abandons her moral compass and embraces pure, unadulterated rage. Imagine the scene. Willow, already pushed to the absolute brink of her sanity by the Drew situation, corners Jacinda. She does not call the police. She does not call Harrison Chase or Anna Devane for help. She wants answers, and she wants them immediately. Willow knows Jacinda is just a pawn, a hired hand who would never have the audacity to target a prominent hospital board member and Corinthos family affiliate without a powerful backer. In a desperate bid to save her own life, Jacinda throws out the one name guaranteed to inflict maximum psychological damage: Nina Reeves. Jacinda claims Nina hired her to eliminate Willow. If that happens, the story could be heading toward a violent, tragic crescendo. We have to ask ourselves, who is in danger here? The answer is everyone who stands in Willow's path. Hearing her own biological mother's name as the architect of her assassination is the exact trigger that breaks Willow's mind. She does not pause to investigate. She does not consider that Jacinda might be lying to save her own skin. In this first future scenario, Willow completely loses control, launching a physical, brutal attack on Jacinda. The struggle escalates beyond anything Willow ever intended, and in a moment of blinding rage, Jacinda is killed. Willow Kane, the former school teacher, the moral compass of the Corinthos family, becomes a killer in the blink of an eye. But the bigger consequence may be what she does next. Fueled by adrenaline, terror, and a profound sense of betrayal, a blood-soaked Willow marches straight to Nina. The confrontation between mother and daughter would be apocalyptic. Nina, completely oblivious to Jacinda's lies, would be caught entirely off guard. Willow attacks her own mother, unleashing years of pent-up resentment, anger, and the fresh trauma of believing Nina wanted her dead. The physical altercation leaves Nina critically injured, fighting for her life on a hospital floor. Only when Willow sees Nina bleeding out does the red mist clear. She realizes she just destroyed her entire life based on the unverified word of a desperate assassin. Looking ahead, this path instantly transforms Willow into a fugitive. She knows Harrison Chase, Anna Devane, and the entire Port Charles Police Department will be hunting her down. She cannot go home to Michael. She cannot look at her children. She flees Port Charles into the dead of night. This radically changes the entire dynamic of the show. Michael is left as a single father dealing with the horrifying reality that his wife is a murderer on the run. Jack Brennan, who has been growing incredibly close to Nina, would undoubtedly unleash his own terrifying resources to hunt Willow down for what she did to the woman he is falling for. Willow becomes the most wanted woman in the state, completely isolated and hunted by both the law and the dangerous underworld. Now, Let us pivot and look at a completely different path. What happens next may be a scenario where Nina Reeves makes the ultimate tragic sacrifice for the daughter who just tried to kill her. In this second future, the events play out similarly. Willow accidentally kills Jacinda, attacks Nina in a blind rage, and flees. But when Jack Brennan or someone else discovers a critically injured Nina, she does not point the finger at Willow. Despite being brutally attacked by her own flesh and blood, Nina uses her dying breaths or her critical medical state to lie to the police. She claims Jacinda attacked her, or she invents a phantom assailant, completely shielding Willow from any suspicion. There's a chance that this massive cover-up becomes the true psychological engine of the next year of storylines. Nina and Brennan could orchestrate a brilliant, airtight lie that completely redirects the PCPD's investigation. Chase and Anna would be hunting a ghost, completely unaware that the real culprit is Michael's wife. Meanwhile, Willow is out there on the run, living in the shadows, believing she is a wanted murderer, completely unaware that her mother covered for her. The guilt would absolutely consume Willow. She would be living in cheap motels, jumping at every siren, slowly losing her grip on reality, while back in Port Charles, Nina fights to recover and maintain the massive lie that keeps her daughter out of Pentonville. This path completely flips the script on the traditional mother-daughter dynamic we have seen between them. For years, Willow has judged Nina, holding her to impossible standards and constantly punishing her for past mistakes. But in this future, Nina proves her unconditional love by taking a literal beating and then risking prison herself for obstruction of justice, all to save Willow. When Willow finally discovers that Nina saved her, the emotional fallout would be staggering. It would force Willow to reckon with the monster she has become and the saint-like sacrifice of the mother she always despised. The dynamic would be forever changed, built on a foundation of blood, guilt, and a massive criminal conspiracy. But let us go even deeper into the rabbit hole for a third, completely unexpected future. This is the wild card scenario. What if Jacinda's accusation against Nina was not just a desperate lie to save her own life, but the actual calculated core of the entire conspiracy? Imagine if the true mastermind behind the poisoning, whether that is a recovering Drew Kane seeking revenge, a ruthless Tracy Quartermain trying to eliminate a rival, or even a brand new enemy from Willow's cult past, knew exactly how Willow would react. They ordered Jacinda to fail, and they ordered Jacinda to blame Nina. In this scenario, the mastermind wanted Willow to snap. They wanted her to attack Nina and ruin her own life. When Willow goes on the run after the tragic events, she slowly begins to piece together the inconsistencies in Jacinda's story. Out there on the road, stripped of her wealth, her family, and her pristine reputation, Willow undergoes a massive transformation. She stops running from the police and starts hunting the real puppet master. We would see a dark, brilliant, and ruthless version of Willow emerge, a woman who finally embraces the cunning intellect of her twin sister Nell, but uses it for vengeance. She becomes a rogue vigilante, determined to clear her name and avenge the mother she nearly killed. If you ask me, the path that feels most likely and carries the most narrative weight is the first one, where Willow fully breaks bad and becomes a fugitive haunted by her own impulsive violence. I keep coming back to the idea that Willow has spent her entire existence terrified of becoming Nell Benson. The writers have constantly teased this underlying darkness within her. Having her accidentally kill an assassin and then brutally attack her own mother is the ultimate tragic fulfillment of that prophecy. It is poetic, it is devastating, and it completely resets her character. She can no longer play the self-righteous victim. She is the perpetrator, and she has to live with the blood on her hands. But let us look at the long-term fallout, because the story does not end when Willow crosses the city limits. If that happens, what is the next shockwave? The bigger consequence may be how this shatters the Corinthos family infrastructure. Michael has always defended Willow's morality. If she becomes a fugitive murderer, Michael might cross unimaginable lines to find her before the police do, potentially putting him at war with Harrison Chase, who is sworn to uphold the law. Chase would be tasked with hunting down the woman he once loved, forcing him to choose between his badge and his complex history with Willow. The emotional stakes for the entire police department would be astronomically high. Furthermore, looking ahead, A Fugitive Willow opens the door for incredible new settings and character interactions. She could cross paths with remnants of Jen Sidwell's organization or other dangerous figures operating on the fringes of society. She would have to learn how to survive without her Quartermain and Corinthos safety nets. And what happens when she finally returns to Port Charles months or years later? She would not be the same woman. The story could be heading toward a massive, highly anticipated trial that divides the entire town, forcing every single character to take a stand on whether Willow Kane is a tragic victim of circumstance or a dangerous criminal who finally showed her true colors. The board is set, the poison is in play, and the explosion is going to be spectacular.
Goodbye. Please like, subscribe, and comment on the GH Spoilers Daily channel.